Hi, I'm Zoe. Welcome back to my booktube channel. Hello, Editing Zoe here. I just want to apologise for how awful the audio sounds in this video. I've tried my best to fix it. I'm not too sure what went wrong with my microphone, but this was my second time of filming this video and I don't have time to film it again before uploading later. So apologies for that. Bye. I know we say this every single month, but I genuinely cannot believe that we are now, well, we're in November. As I'm filming this, it's the 1st of November. I cannot believe we're going into the last 2 months of the year. Today, I just thought I'd do my October reading wrap up. I had a good reading month in terms of the quality of the books. I definitely read less this month than I usually do. I've had all kind of life stuff going on. I started a new job. We've been decorating in the house. We will be in our kitchen properly before the end of this year. So it's been a bit hectic, but I have squeezed in reading when I can, and what I have read has been really good. So I'm really excited to share those books with you. Here's my October reading wrap up. Let's get into it. The first book I read in October was actually one of my arcs from NetGalley. This was called The Castaway and the Witch. This follows 9-year-old Nefele as she is washed up on the shores of the Floating Forest, which is a prison island inspired by the island where you'd find Circe in Greek mythology. Holding on to nothing but the corpse of her dead father, she's taken by a herd of mythical elks that take her to a treehouse, which essentially has everything in that she needs to survive and to learn about the island and the women that came before her. As the years go by, she kind of becomes one with this floating forest, kind of loses herself and begins to become myth and legend. She is this witch of the floating forest. And all of that's going really well until one day a certain castaway kind of ruins everything, I guess. She has to then decide his fate. I really enjoyed this. It was very atmospheric, very dark. I would say there's horror elements to this as well. That was quite interesting to read, I think, especially with a character that we meet so young. That made for quite an interesting read for me. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the setting. I loved the lore and how much we get to know Nefele and the other women that have come before her as well. For such a short read as well, it's so steeped in folklore and mythology, and I just think this was fantastic for the length of the book. I think it was about 160 pages, so yeah, I really enjoyed that. Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon was one of my most anticipated reads of this year. I absolutely adore the Roots of Chaos series. I talk about it all the time. This book takes place just before the events of the Priory of the Orange Tree. The events that happen in this book we see in Priory of the Orange Tree as well. You've also then got A Day of Fallen Night, which is set centuries before either of the other two books. The draconic creatures have been asleep for centuries at this point. We're following our main character, Morosa, who lives with her father, who is the king, and he's incredibly controlling and manipulative and kind of keeps her tucked away in this castle because he wants to protect her because she's the heir. But she's also betrothed to a character called Albrecht, who lives in another kingdom. The two of them talk through letters, but they haven't seen each other in a very long time, even though they are betrothed. All while this is happening, the Great Worm is waking up. What follows is a, albeit short story of destruction and a complete takeover by draconic creatures, and it was absolutely heart-wrenching. I loved every second of it. What I think I love most about this book is that it really feels quite intimate in comparison to Shannon's larger novels. Because there's so few points of view in this, you've got Morosa and Albrecht, and then there's a third point of view for the first part of this book as well. That just feels so much more intimate. You're seeing these great travesties happen from various different points of view and geographically as well, very different. Not everybody's sort of seeing the impacts of these draconic creatures and the rise of this great worm. I guess the scale of the story feels smaller because you've got fewer characters. So if that was something that was a concern to you, looking at A Day of Fallen Night and Priory of the Orange Tree, if you were concerned about the scale of those books, I think this could be a really fantastic place to start. You also get an introduction to the dragons and the other draconic creatures. I feel are so well done across all of her books. I could read an entire double-length novel just about Morosa and Albrecht. I love them both so much. Morosa's point of view was so heartbreaking. She's kept away from everything and everybody. You really feel that in her point of view, that she's so sheltered from everything, but she is such a strong character as well, and I just love her. And Albrecht, oh my god, love him. The third point of view I can't even bring myself to talk about, but it was a stunning read, definitely a good place to start for the Roots of Chaos, and I'm very excited to see what Samantha Shannon is going to give us in future for this series because it's just spectacular. A much cozier read now. Soyangri Book Kitchen is all about this book kitchen, which is essentially a retreat where people can go to rest, restore, relax, and just kind of get that reprieve from the wider world. How many words with R did I get in there? Was that 4? Well done. I absolutely adored this. I could do with like a 2-week stay at this book kitchen, to be honest. It sounds really beautiful. It's very character focused, like a lot of translated fiction. This is very character focused, and you do meet lots of different characters as they encounter the book kitchen for different reasons. The motives for the different characters ending up there was really nice. The writing was really beautiful. It has that very cozy vibe to it. Again, with a lot of translated fiction, it's very reflective, and I just really enjoyed that. So yeah, another one that I would definitely recommend. It really has been a month of shorter books for me. Another one that I read in one sitting actually this month was When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. This was a little bit of a random pick for me. I saw this at my local library. I don't think I've read a lot of Veronica Roth, not for a long time anyway. This is the first book in an urban fantasy duology, and I was really intrigued by the premise of it, picked it up, and it was absolutely fantastic. As I said, in one sitting. This again is a story that's absolutely steeped in folklore. Our main character goes on this sort of perilous mission to find a fern flower. So this is tied into the story of the Lessie, which I've read in a couple of other books. He wants to give the fern flower to this cursed being. He wants help to find the witch Baba Yaga. The person who's cursed is a generational curse, and this fern flower is the only way to break it. So you kind of see the two of them work out how they're going to work together, and seeing the different motives from all sides, really. This really is a story about redemption and secrets. It was just fascinating for such a short book. It really handled quite a lot for quite a short book. It was almost sort of paranormal meets mythology, which I quite enjoyed, and the urban fantasy setting was pretty good as well. I'm not normally an urban fantasy girl, so I'm excited to see where the second book goes as well. It was quite an exciting turn of events in this one, so I'm looking forward to seeing where the second one would go as well. Another book that I can tick off my NetGalley ARC list this month is Pantomime by L.R. Lamb. I was really excited to read this for a number of reasons. I am a big fan of L.R. Lamb's writing. I have enjoyed Dragonfall and Emberclaw, two of my favourite fantasy books. I also really enjoyed their sci-fi called Goldilocks. It's a standalone sci-fi novel, women in space. It's fantastic. I was really excited for this novel, not only because it's fantasy, and it absolutely sounds like a bit of me, but also because this was kind of a bit of a second chance for this series. So the Micah Gray trilogy was originally published, I think, 10 years ago, if not more. The landscape of publishing and the societal landscape looked very different then for a book like this. The author has been given the opportunity with a new publisher to do a bit of an author's preferred text, a bit like Samantha Shannon with The Bone Season, and has reworked this trilogy, and it is now being republished. This trilogy follows Micah Gray. Micah has run away to the circus to train as an aerialist, and Micah is hiding some secrets. Micah is hiding not only that he has access to some sort of magical power that has not been seen in a very, very long time, but also Micah exists between genders. Micah is an intersex main character. I am really pleased that the author has been given the opportunity to republish this in a much more suited time for a novel like this. I thoroughly enjoyed Micah's story, or at least the first book in Micah's story. You go between two times, really. So you go between Micah in the present in the circus, training as an aerialist, which is just fantastic. I love the setting of a circus. But also then Micah's life before, when Micah existed and grew up as a noble girl to a young noble woman with completely different societal expectations. As she was known then, was going to grow up to become somebody's wife and live as a noble woman, but her family was very, very aware that there was going to be some difficulties there. They didn't really have a label for Jean as she was then, or Jeannie. I'm going to go with Jean. Overhearing her parents one night, Jean decides she can't do this anymore. She can't live this life, this charade. So she runs away, and the safest way for her to do that is to disguise herself as a young man. And this kind of leads to Micah then discovering a little bit about his own gender identity and what that kind of means to him. And I suspect we'll get more of that journey as we go. But I really loved what this novel set out to do, and I think it did it really well. There is so much more going on in this novel as well. The circus is absolutely fascinating. The magic and the core fantasy elements of the story are really exciting as well. And I think the plot development and kind of seeing the magic coming into this, and the circus, and Micah's run away from a noble family, they're looking for him. All of that came together really well, and I think this was a really good setup for the rest of the series. So I'm really excited to continue with it. I finished this book last night. As I'm filming, it's the 1st of November. On Halloween, I finished The Toxic Lesbian Vampire book. I still feel quite numb from reading it, to be honest. This completely consumed me. These women are intoxicating in every sense of the word. I was completely enthralled, enraptured in their stories. I'm kind of glad I waited to read this, to be honest. I'm glad that I waited rather than sort of amongst all the hype and stuff, and I really, really enjoyed the experience. As you can see, I've tabbed an absolute butt ton of stuff. The writing is exquisite, as I would expect from V. Schwab. I enjoyed The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and Gallant was fine. Addie LaRue is one of my absolute favourites. The writing was just as beautiful, if not more so. The women that you meet in this are phenomenal. We've got women from the 1500s, the 1800s, and then 2019. And you kind of see the plight of women throughout time. Generally, I think Schwab does a great job of conveying that. But then also the way that vampirism affects all of these women differently. You know, it's everything from empowering and freeing to completely destructive and horrifying and not what they'd want. And I think that was seeing the scope of vampirism and how for some it was a bit of everything. That was really fantastic. The end left me completely empty and bereft, to be honest. And I suspect this might put me into a reading slump, but this really was absolutely spectacular. The audiobook, cannot recommend it enough. I don't think I'd have carried this on, to be honest. Given the headspace I was in when I started it, I think the audiobook is the reason I continued with it. As I'm feeling right now, this could be in the running for top 5, if not top 3 of the year. It was that good. Absolutely obsessed with this. Go read it. A couple of books are coming over with me to next month, one of which is The Butcher's Masquerade. This is Dungeon Crawler Cal Book 5, I think. I'm still cracking on with that, and I will hopefully continue my reading vlog and start a new one for November. I will be uploading my reading vlog hopefully next week by the time you're watching this, or at least by the time this is going out anyway. I think I have a couple of others as well, but I've kind of really dipped out of them this month. They've kind of been on pause. But all in all, a really good month. While there's not been a lot of books, the books that I have read have been really good quality, and I've just had the absolute best time. If you enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more long form content from me, please do remember to subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it. If you want to see where I'm a bit more active, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I always have those linked in the description for you. And in the comments, let me know what your favourite book was in October and what you're looking forward to reading in November. I hope you have a lovely reading month ahead of you. I will see you in my next video. In the meantime, happy reading. Bye!